Good afternoon, Saitlanders. How are you? We hope that you're well. I want to share something with you that is very close to my heart. I don't know. What do I know? But it's the long and the short of it is famine. I, based upon the research that I do every day, feel very strongly that arguably the greatest threat to us conservative Christian Caucasians globally, and more especially in South Africa and more especially Saitlanders, is famine or the effects thereof. And I've been working on this and related stuff, as you'll hear shortly, for about I suppose it first began in March of last year, 2021, today being the 11th of October. Yesterday was my beloved dad's birthday, the 10th of October. He shares it with Paul Creer. Anyway, so today's Tuesday, the 11th of October, and I suppose last March, but more particularly over the past 9 months or so, whenever I've got a gap between topical research stuff that I must follow up on to keep Saitlanders well informed, I turn to that research, which is very different. I'm just going to shift this microphone, and I hope that those first couple of minutes were not in any way soft, but I see it's a little bit further away than it should have been. And I'm going to begin with this, because this comes up in my mind all of the time when I think about this video, when I think about this work, and I pray in my heart that the Lord fill me with humility, and that I should not make the mistake of believing that I know very much, because to whom do you compare yourself? God? Then you're just a mampara. So this is the Old Testament of the Holy Bible. And they shall die without knowledge. That is the book of Job, chapter 36, verse 12. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 5, verse 23, he shall die for lack of instruction, and in the greatness of his folly he shall go astray. In the book of Hosea, chapter 4, verse 6, it reads, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because you have rejected knowledge. And it goes on, sure, the next verse 2 are even more foreboding or ominous, inauspicious. There's a website, I don't have it up here, I didn't know, perhaps I should have opened it, called the Darwin Awards. You can search it, it's fantastic. When when I was a kid, I was 22, and I hitched to Zanzibar Island. You can imagine, young white boy, conservative family. I was the bane of my poor parents. 22 years old. This is during apartheid. I'm 51 years old, born in 1971. So you always add a year to my age to get the year, if you know what I mean. If I was 22 years old, it would have been 1993. I hitched to Zanzibar Island alone, and came back. I fell very ill. I had hepatitis A, the one that comes through the food cycle. You know, people's hygiene is not spectacular, so a lot of people pick up hepatitis A from food sold in Zanzibar. And I told my mates, 2 friends, hey guys, it's the answer. Zanzibar, it's fantastic. And we were guys from either the south coast of Natal or the north coast of Natal or Durban itself. And so the idea of going somewhere, you know, to the sea, to an island, just number one. And we were all qualified scuba dive masters. So the 3 of us set off again after I'd recuperated from the hepatitis, after very, very, very nearly perishing. On the way, we rode a train, a long railway ride. 3 young white lighties from South Africa during apartheid, explaining ourselves the whole way along, you know. But we didn't get much grief. When I hitchhiked alone, I was nearly killed twice. I'll tell you quickly. The first time I was rescued by an American missionary, big man in his 50s with a buzz cut. And as these guys were about to fall on me, he pulled up in the middle of nowhere, a small village in Zambia, and he hooted at them and they ignored him. They came for me again, and he hooted and pulled out his revolver. And anyway, he rescued me. And then another guy, a Malawian guy, rescued me as I was hitchhiking at dusk along a very lonely road towards a forest. You could see in the distance this great big forest. And according to him, I would have been killed that night. I don't say it's true. I was a very, very, very strong guy, not a kickboxer or karate guy or anything like that, but I was very, just strong. I think, I don't know, but according to him, they would have killed me. The bandits in the forest, when I say they. Okay, so we go back to Zanzibar. On the way, we ride this train. I think I'm clever. Climb out of the train with the intention of climbing on the roof. Holding on the gutter. It's got a little gutter along the side. Clinging to the gutter. Each side of the train tracks for 1,000 miles is clear. This is from Kapiri to Dar es Salaam. It's cleared. You know, they keep it clear next to roads, railways, whatever. Bang, I get smacked in the eye by a tree. The one tree on this 1,000-mile stretch that hadn't been cleared properly, and the branch was that far from the train. So I, like this, holding on, boom, and you can still see the scars. Anyway, the real point of this story, I'm waxing lyrical now, is that a friend of mine, one of those 2 guys, introduced me to the Darwin Awards. He knew about the Darwin Awards, he knew them quite well. And in the evenings on the island at Nungwi, before it was developed, if you've been there in recent years, it's not the same. But, you know, at Amani bungalows, we'd sit in the on the beach in the warm sand and sit around a fire and talk and carry on. And he would tell stories of the Darwin Awards. And the long and the short of it is that the Darwin Awards are given in memory of Charles Darwin to people posthumously to people who, in killing themselves, do the gene pool, our gene pool, a service. One of the classic examples of the Darwin Awards was a guy went ice fishing and he took a stick of dynamite with him. I think it was in Canada. Anyway, this guy managed to get hold of a stick of dynamite, and he had a brand new Ford F-250 or something, and he and his pal went ice fishing, and he threw the dynamite onto the ice and then ran away. The idea being that it would explode and blow a hole in the ice. But he forgot about his dog Rover or whatever. Dog fetches the ice, the dynamite, and gleefully brings it back to his master. You can imagine the rest. Another one, a guy went to, there's a place in, I think it's Utah in the USA, where they store old aeroplanes rather than destroy them, old military aircraft. Thousands of them. And this guy bribed one of the guards of that place and bought a jet engine and mounted it on his Ford Fairlane or something. And the report, they couldn't find him for a long time, a lot of years, as the story goes. And the initial report suggested that when his Goodyear radial tires gave out, he was doing 200 miles an hour down this lonely stretch of road through wherever, perhaps also Utah. And he hit a mountainside miles away, and the wreckage was found years later. I'll give you another quick one. A guy gets a whole lot of balloons, fills them with helium, and puts them on his garden chair. He floats 30 feet off the ground, pulls himself down. He's tied to the back of his pickup truck or whatever. Pulls himself down, goes and gets a 6-pack of beer, goes back up, drinks the 6-pack of beer, and thinks to himself it might be a good idea to cut the rope. Anyway, he was last seen by a pilot coming into Miami-Dade or Fort Lauderdale, I can't remember, Daytona Internet, I can't remember, Daytona, I'm not sure, airport in Miami, in Florida rather, and this guy, the pilot radios in saying, listen, there's a guy in a garden chair suspended from 30 helium balloons at 24,000 feet or whatever. Plane lands, pilot and co-pilot get arrested for being drunk on duty, and are only set free when another plane radios in, hey guys, there's a guy in a garden chair at 24,000 feet. Anyway, and my friend used to tell these stories to all the tourists, you know, around the fire. The three of us dive masters taking people scuba diving, young men, and impress them, and I've never forgotten them. Recently, PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, has proposed that women should go on connubial relations strike. Carnal knowledge strike. Relations with men. If the men eat meat, and somebody commented, this is the classic case of self-selecting yourself out of the gene pool, and it's a good thing. Those are the very women whose genes we don't want to retain, because they become spiteful mutants, as we've discussed in the past, the work of Dr. Edward Dutton. Why is the Caucasian race in its present plight? Because of spiteful mutants, because we progressed so well for so long that our rubbish didn't die off, was allowed to reproduce. My people perish for lack of knowledge. This is already 14 minutes, 44 seconds. Guys, I think I'm going to break it up into 2, maybe 3 parts. I hope you enjoyed the first part, the anecdotes, and we'll get down to the serious stuff very shortly. Thank you.